You ain't wrong.
Now, I'll try the live custom streaming service.
Yep. And then if you could do speaker view for me, that'd be great.
Speaker view is on. Oh, it's that whole, I'll have to try this key here again.
It's raining on the coast, is it? I can hear it.
Yeah, you can hear that?
It's a nice calming sound. We're gonna put everybody to sleep. When it rains here, it's not nice and calming though.
I was going to say, I don't need anything else to help me go to sleep, man. I just had lunch not too long ago. I'm ready for a nap.
I've been up since 1 in the morning. I couldn't go back to sleep. So,
Dude.
yeah, you know.
Is that the joys of having 4 kids?
No, nothing to do with the kids. I woke up. I went to bed just after 8 with my little one. And then, so I got a good 4 hours, 5 hours.
Just so excited for today's event.
I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm like, KVCore. I was just thinking about you, Shannon, and Josh is presenting the best KVCore smart plans we've ever seen. Is that what you call them, smart plans?
Smart campaign.
Yeah, smart campaign. Yep.
Smart campaign. Okay, sorry. Smart campaigns. I get it right this time. Okay, we're just gonna give a few more minutes. I keep on seeing people show up, and then Josh, I know you've got some place to go shortly, so I might just let you start, even though you're in the car, on how you use KVCore with StreetText, and then I'll let Shannon, because he's going to be able to present some stuff. How's that sound? Cool?
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay, go for it.
Marcus, could you record and stream?
It's recording.
Okay, if you could stream, that'd be great too.
It's not working for me on the stream side.
Oh,
I can make you host and you can try. You want to try it?
sure, thanks.
Okay, you're the host. And I'll mute myself because you can hear rain in the background.
Oh, but it's soothing.
So
We're good?
Yeah, well, so let me start off. Yeah, let me start off real quick. This, in case you're not at the normal StreetText Mastermind, everybody, you're at the KVCore StreetText Mastermind. So this is for everybody out there using KVCore or interested in using KVCore with your StreetText. We're looking, and Steve's here because we're looking at creating a direct integration within StreetText. So we want your feedback. We want to make it flow the way you need it to flow and do exactly what you needed the moment the lead comes in. Okay, and you guys already got the HomeBot integration, but KVCore was kind of next on our list. We know there's a lot of follow-up boss users out there too, but lots of KVCore. So I'll start with that. It's all about StreetText integrations, talking about your follow-up with that and what we can do to make this synergy work amazing for you. Josh, take it away.
Yeah, well, so how we are currently integrating is with Zapier. And so every type of campaign or every campaign bucket we have a smart campaign that fits that. For example, the downsizing, the downsizing offer, right? The downsizing list. For example, the 12 seller tips, or just a traditional home valuation. In each of those scenarios, we have a different Zap that sends our leads into KVCore, and each of them is included with that has a hashtag so that we know, okay, this is a 12 seller tips lead, this is a downsizing lead, this is a traditional home valuation lead, whatever the case may be, so that after the fact, a month, 3 months, 3 years from now, I can go into my KVCore and I can pull up, okay, who are all the people that opted in for the downsizing offer, right? They wanted to see a free list of, of maintenance-free homes, 1-floor maintenance-free homes, whatever the case may be. So first and foremost, Zapier is what we're currently doing with that integration. If StreetText made that easier and remove that requirement, that would be great, right? It'd be one less thing for integration.
Pulling up just like a little bit so I can back out.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that. So this guy's gonna get out.
Shannon,
Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. While you're doing
Okay,
the backup,
sorry.
real quick, you concentrate on driving for a second. Shannon, what have you been doing? And Josh, you can chime back in once you get situated with your car. What have you been doing on that follow-up? Because I saw that I think you were using the email parsing for your StreetText leads, specifically in the home value side.
Right, exactly. So first of all, me and Josh did not coordinate the red shirts. It just happened. How cool is that, right? It just happened. But anyway, so yeah, all I run through StreetText, I don't run any buyer campaigns through StreetText personally. It's just because honestly, I don't want the buyer leads for me personally, and my team members haven't been closing them the way that I wanted them to close them. So I just, to me, I'm not going to waste money on advertising that I don't necessarily that I'm not going to utilize. Right now, I do use the listing leads a lot, and so I use the email parser. So in right now, I don't think there's a feature to be able to click to say KVCore, but I think it's Stephen, wasn't it you and I that figured it out, that it was the follow-up boss. We could use the follow-up boss for if I'm just doing the sellers. It doesn't have to differentiate between, it just comes across the StreetText and automatically assigns them a seller campaign. Right? Is that what we could come up with?
Yep. The only thing I do know is that from what I've learned from KVCore, and I am a very basic guy on it, so you'll be able to correct me, but from what I've learned from it so far, it seems like KVCore has a couple big catch-all campaigns like seller or buyer. And if you were sending in leads that were, say, like to Josh's point, downsizing or new construction or whatever else, they were all seemingly getting automatically added into one of these catch-all. So there are ways around it, and I did figure out how to do it. And I think Josh is using Zapier to do it as well. But we figured if we do a direct integration, we could make that seamless. So you could just, this is where I want it to go. This is where it's going to go.
Right.
So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, that would be the ultimate situation, to be able to have that. But what I'm doing is I'm using the follow-up boss, just the parser for follow-up boss and the email parser directly from KVCore, and putting that in. And then what I'm doing is, whenever I'm saying, when hashtag StreetText is applied, I'm making sure it goes right into my seller funnel. Does that make sense? Right? It's going right into my seller campaign. Now, if I were doing like Josh and running the downsizing, running the buyers, all that different stuff, Josh and I have talked about this before, right, Josh? I wouldn't be able to necessarily do that, because it would say hashtag StreetText. It would still automatically throw them into the seller campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh, you want to speak on that a little bit? Because I mean, you talked about that a few times.
There are triggers on
so
side of it that you can set up so that it doesn't trigger all those other campaigns to go off at the same time.
Right.
The problem still,
exactly.
the reason why we use Zapier still is I want to know and be able to segment as granularly as possible, so that I can send an email or a text message 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years from now that says, hey, are you still thinking about downsizing into a maintenance-free condo in the area? Because the more you can congruently match your communications to what originally triggered their interest, the more it feels like a personal message versus a blast communication that is a catch-all. And so that's why we use Zapier. And if KVCore can make the integration such that when the lead is sent from StreetText, it has a hashtag, and it also says, is this a buyer lead or is this a seller lead? And with Zapier, we can even do both. So for example, my downsizing, we mark them as buyer and seller lead, because theoretically they have a home that they're going to sell as well. And so we want to treat them as both in that scenario. It also allows us to make sure that our smart campaigns are customized specifically for that audience and what they requested, not just the initial, but the entire like smart campaign. Because the way we build ours is we typically have a 7 to, let's say, 1 to 2 week smart campaign that is custom to whatever they had requested or were interested in. And then we also do things like, for example, with the downsizing offer, they will continue to get property alerts of those type of properties twice a week until they unsubscribe, right? And all of that happens with the KVCore automation. And our smart campaigns are always, and I apologize because I'm not trying to hog it here, but I have a small window. Our smart campaigns always include an email, or always include the following: emails, text messages, tasks, because we manually do work on each one of our leads. We manually, what we call, disposition them. They typically include ringless voicemail, and then they also typically include that search alert, setting it up on a search alert, and also video, text, and email. And then lastly, this is kind of more advanced, we also, depending on the lead type, use Zapier to automatically send them direct mail on top of that.
I have just a quick question, if I could, Josh, just so I can better understand kind of the functionality of KVCore, given I don't get a chance to play around with it all the time, but I'm still trying to recommend certain things to people. If you were to say, send a lead over, downsizing is a good example, where we're sending 3 specific hashtag, buyer, seller, and say downsizer, are they then being added into 3 individual smart plans, a buyer, a seller, and a downsizer, or do they amalgamate the 3 and then say?
So hashtags are one thing, and then I forget what the other, the buyer seller, that's not a hashtag. That is how they're classified. 2 separate things. So I'm trying to think of like an analogy.
Would be the label. Yeah.
I'm not coming up with a great analogy, but you can search. I want to pull my entire buyer database. I want to pull my entire seller database, or I only want to pick buyers that also have this hashtag. So the hashtags are an additional filtering criteria on top of buyer, seller, renter. Forget what the other. There's like
vendor, agent,
buyer,
vendor,
seller,
agent.
renter,
vendor, agent,
vendor, and agent. Right. So those are like the type of lead, and then the hashtag is the filtering of, they were interested in pool homes. They were interested in the downsizing or a list of homes for downsizing. They were, whatever, new construction or condos or waterfront properties.
That's 100% the reason for my question, was more so that, again, for filtered process or purposes on KVCore, that's fantastic. We want to make sure that whatever designation we can apply to them is then searchable through your database. I think that's wise.
100%.
I just wouldn't want them to get buyers, text, and ringless voicemail and emails, and
Definitely
then sellers, and then downsize. That was more my concern. But if what you're describing, that's kind of the functionality that I was looking for. So that's perfect.
And what you just described is a surefire way to chase off people, right? Like if they're just getting bombarded, you want to make sure there's a fine line, right, between making sure they got what they wanted versus like just bombarding them to the point where they, you repel them, or you push them away by being too aggressive up front, knowing that the majority of these people are just at the beginning of the process, right? They're top of funnel, beginning of the pipeline, whatever.
It all comes down to, and Josh, you and Ryan and so many others have drilled this into people's heads forever. Back in our Reticulous days, right? It goes way back. It's all about value driven, right? And so it's just like, no matter what you're trying to do, whether you're working with a buyer, working with a seller, working with an agent, it doesn't matter. It's all about value driven. So you've got to provide as much value. And in order to do that, you've got to have them in these little boxes, what I call little boxes, right? So like what Josh is talking about, so for instance, if I've got someone that's looking in Asheville, North Carolina, I'm going to tag them as Asheville, North Carolina. If they're looking at pool homes, I'm going to tag them as pool homes. because whenever I go list a property in Asheville that has a pool, I can go into my smart CRM. I can go right down the list and say, okay, I want my buyers with Asheville in a pool, and I can literally send my new listing out to just those particular people. It's very, very targeted. And that's the key. You've got to have targeting in order to make any of this work. I'm a firm believer in that.
100%. Stephen, I think you said you had
Do you mind? So this question is definitely for you, but also for anybody else in the call, in the chat. You can just write in the chat kind of as I'm going through this. I have kind of 4 features that as we're looking to build this integration, I'm curious if they'd be of any value. There's no point building them if they're not. And if there is, then we can lean into it a little bit more. So when I was playing with KVCore's API and linking up StreetText, a few ideas came to mind. One is it looks like we can get access to your listings from KVCore automatically. So potentially, if it was valuable to anybody on this call or to Josh, would it be valuable to ever be able to automatically build listing ads based on your listings or based on the statuses of those listings? So for instance,
100%, yes.
Okay, so just listed just so.
If anybody says no, disregard their answer.
Okay. The second one I was playing with is that it looks like we can create search alerts. So I was thinking, like, even for our buyer ads, when you're creating buyer ads or broad ads, like, a list of homes with pools in this area, whatever it may be, it looks like we can maybe automatically add those buyer leads to a search alert in KVCore. I'd have to play with it a bit more to see if that's actually entirely possible, but it looks like we can create search alerts at the same time.
You definitely can. The way we're doing it currently is we're doing it by hashtag. So you can create a search alert by the hashtag that you assign to them. So there's multiple ways that you can end up with that end result. But if StreetText is able to make that as easy as possible, that will benefit everyone, because search alerts are the best catch-all long-term follow-up. Like, if nothing else happens, if at least they continue to get real estate listings from you, like you're at least you're providing something of value that they find interesting, and you will get some opportunity from that. Are you going to get the most opportunity that you could be from your long-term follow-up? No, but it's a great catch-all, and if you guys can make that as easy as possible, 100%, it's worth figuring that out.
Okay, awesome.
I agree 100%.
And then just to add just a couple more, these are smaller ones, but I know some people sometimes ask for lead routing, and it looks like lead routing is available in KVCore. I'm not sure if that would be of any interest to anybody or based on your systems or processes. And then last question is, what data would you want? Would you want any data back from KVCore to StreetText? So if you were logging into StreetText, you could have that data available. For instance, we could sync the notes, between the leads. We could pull, basically, there's a whole lot of things we could pull back from the contact section of KVCore, just so that if you did log into StreetText, or if you were looking at a specific ad and you wanted to see something related to that ad, we can even do deal tracking. Like, we can track transactions and stuff that's taking place in KVCore. So any thoughts or anything you'd want back on your leads?
I think as much information as you can share back and forth and make it as seamless is probably the best option. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, I forget what the header this is under, but it's like lead score or something. I can't remember what it is because I don't have it pulled up, but basically it'll say new lead, active lead, client, closed, and there's a couple of other. And if you could sync that data, because what happens is new lead is literally that, they're brand new. But once they start actively either looking at listings or responding, doing something within KVCore, it changes them to an active lead. So if you could go to StreetText and say, I've generated 100 leads with this campaign, 60 of which are now active, versus this other campaign I generated 100 and only 10 are now classified as active, that's valuable information, especially from like a split test or even an offer, like the kind of offer that you're using, right? Because some just may get more engagement than others. So that was a longer version of saying what Shannon said. Like, the more information, I think, the better. And not so much like I personally don't use StreetText as a CRM because I use KVCore as a CRM, but I still use it to see ad results and things like that. So if you can tie that together,
we may even be able to, like, say you've closed leads on KVCore and you mark them as a transaction. And again, I don't know if we can get exactly this, but it looks like we could. We could even update your campaigns and ads with ROI then. So you'd even have, you'd know exactly how much you're spending and what your return was potentially.
Yeah.
So that could be interesting
fantastic.
too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's it. That concludes my my questions. So thank you.
Good stuff.
Awesome. I know someone wanted to share their follow-up plan. Who was that? Was that Wendy?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Wendy.
Hey, I just wanted to share, I love the two systems working simultaneously, and really what I use StreetText for is Julie. So Julie is like my virtual assistant, and all of my leads that I've had communication with Julie being in the mix. You know, for instance, when I first started with StreetText, I didn't know a damn thing or what I was doing. And I sent, Julie sent a text message to a seller lead at 6 o'clock in the morning. And so like they responded and said, you know, don't text me so early, right? So I saw that. And then I text her from KVCore and said, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, my assistant Julie is just overzealous on getting her, you know, her stuff done. But, you know, if there's anything I can do to assist you, so on and so forth. And anyways, she's in listing contract now, that lead. So I think the biggest thing that I found valuable with StreetText integration is having Julie. And if there was more Julie email and like just Julie email and text messages from StreetText, and then just Wendy texts and emails from KVCore, then I could essentially work simultaneously as at two different directions, right? And capture across the board. So I just wanted to share that.
Well, and one thing you can do too, if you don't mind, Wendy, if you don't mind me chiming in, one thing you can do too, and I did this, is go in and turn the text message feature off in KVCore to where it's not automatically text messaging them because Julie's text messaging them, right? So you could technically do that and just have the email campaign going out in KVCore so that Julie is texting them till they respond and KVCore is emailing them till they respond. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of the similarities coming out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what I do is I manually change the text messages in StreetText to be completely different than the text messages that come out from KVCore. So it's like, hey, Julie's saying like, hey, did you get what Wendy sent over to you last week? And right. And so that way there's two different follow-ups happening, but it's not just me sending like mechanical text messages from KVCore, because some of them are a little bit, you know, and I haven't taken the time to change all of the automation in KVCore, but I can do that with Julie. And so I make her very personable on that end, but then I manage both of them.
I like that. That's good stuff. Did anybody, hopefully everybody caught that and everybody would go in and do that. I think that is an excellent idea, Wendy, is to have, you know, make it to where Julie is talking about you, right? Versus talking for you.
And with how much smarter or sophisticated cell phone carriers are becoming, it's also insurance that they get one of those messages, right? Because texting, I would say, at least in my personal experience, is the best immediate platform as far as creating opportunities of the folks that are most motivated right now, like most ready, willing, and able right now. And if they're not getting those messages, I would rather have someone say, hey, I'm getting too much, and we can back it down, versus they didn't get it at all, right? Because for whatever reason, their carrier blocked Julie's message or blocked my message. And Wendy, I love what you're doing, playing one off the other, because that you might also, if they get one of them and not the other, they might then say, oh, I never saw Wendy's message. And A, they may go searching for it and seek you out. Or B, you're alerted that you could try them, you could try them on your personal cell phone and message them through there. But anyway, I think that's great. I think that's
actually, and just to build on exactly what Josh said there, you really should go into Julie and make those messages yourself. To his point, the carriers do look for patterns, and if they see patterns in messages, they flag them and go, oh, this might just be an automated message. But if you Wendy has her own, and Josh has his own, and Eva's got her own, they're just a message, just a normal text message going through the system. So then your deliverability will go way, way, way up. So right now, everybody's essentially running the default Julie messages, which means you're going to have a lower, there's just more chance it's going to get picked up. And different carriers do different things too. Like they care to a different extent. So it might go through to one person's number, but not to another. But if you make it your own, you're going to increase that dramatically. So good idea, Josh.
One of the things that I found successful with doing that as well is I tried the first message to say, introduce myself as Julie, and then say, I work with Wendy. And we're working on my seller leads, we're working on the property valuation. She's working on your property valuation. Just wanted to see if you could give me some more details so that I can make sure she gets that to you. Right. So, and then I just tried it, and I had several people respond and say, who's Wendy? And then I was able to say from Julie, oh, well, she's one of the #1, listing agents in the area, and yada, yada, and talk about myself as Julie. It's kind of creepy, but it's cool because you can sell yourself. And then again, I got a listing appointment from someone that I was having that correspondence with, because then they felt like they knew me more as Wendy because they had talked to Julie about me via text message. So
right. It's a fact that assistants get more responses than the agent does. The agent, a lot of times, people are oh God, they're a dime a dozen. But the assistant, for some reason, can get through. My assistant can set more appointments for me than I ever can. And I don't know why. It's just always been that way.
Well, it's 100% what Wendy was saying as well, is if you come off and say, well, I've got this many listings, I'm doing this. Well, nobody wants to hear that. But again, when somebody else is pumping your tires, or in this case, the thing that I've always recommended people using Julie is to book yourself an appointment, right? So one thing that I would never do is to say something like, I'm working with active buyers in your area. That's something I personally don't like to say, but I like them to know that I'm an active agent who is working with buyers in their area. That's certainly something I want to say. So as Julie, through my account, if I was to get a response, something I would say is something like, hey, Logan's actually showing homes in your neighborhood all week. Would it be okay with you if I had him pop by and introduce himself, let's say this Thursday around 4? That's not me saying, hey, me, the agent, I'm going to come across town and bombard you and knock on your door. No. My assistant is just lightly saying, he's already going to be in your area. We see you're looking for a home valuation. Hey, no pressure. Would you like it if I had him pop by and introduce himself? And it's just a light way of really introducing yourself into the situation, right? So it ties in so well.
And there's a lot to be said about assistants, because an assistant can make you, even if you are not that busy, even if your calendar's wide open, right? They can make you sound like you are super busy. And actually, that's not a bad thing. I hear people tell me all the time, oh, well, you're afraid, I'm afraid they're going to think that, you're too busy for them or whatever. I disagree with that. My philosophy on that is just like I'll set appointments on the 15s, not on the half hours or the hours, right? Because then they realize, okay, well, I can meet with him at 11:15. 11:15, that's kind of odd. You know what I mean, right? But whenever your assistant is setting that and they say, okay, well, he's got an availability from 11:15 to 12:15, There's just something about that that psychologically in that client's mind goes, wow, this is a busy agent. They really know what they're doing. And if they really truly want value, they will work into your schedule rather than you jumping at their schedule. Just
the other thing that I've been able to utilize with Julie, not successfully yet, but I just started integrating it, was my Calendly link. I have a chatwithwendy.net link. And so I was using it on KVCore and not very successful getting people to schedule appointments with me. It's kind of like impersonal to say, you know, go to my link to schedule an appointment, like, you know, but when I feel like maybe when Julie does it, it's like, hey, you know, here's a link to Wendy's schedule. You can go on there and pick a time that works best for you, and she'd be happy to connect with you. I try to do a lot of Zoom appointments because with EXP, I try to really master the virtual agent. So I try to integrate that as much as possible. And I've had success with Zoom appointments, buyer consultations, listing appointments, agent recruiting over Zoom, because I can share my screen and I can teach, whatever it is that I'm doing. And so I've tried to integrate that with Julie. I just started and I haven't had anybody schedule yet, but I don't know, that's a thought too.
Marcos, this is Michael. Maybe it's an answer that probably very easy, that everybody knows. You have all the leads and they're getting all the email feedback from Julie. And when you get that one lead already in escrow or you already listed, how can you turn it off so they don't keep receiving, hey, do you want to check the value of your market? Because that happened to me. And now the seller is thinking that the value is more than I listed for. So how can I turn it off so they don't keep receiving that?
Who's going to answer that one? Logan?
Yeah, sure. On our side of things, all you need to do is go into the contact. You scroll over to the far right side. There's a little magnifying glass. You'll click on that. You'll then see a green slider that'll be show you which campaigns they're currently part of within StreetText, of course, not KVCore, but then you just simply flip that off and it'll go. Something that we need to consider building is the ability to move people between campaigns. So hey, you're interested in buying a home. Hey, thank you for buying that home, with me. Hey, you're looking at your home value. You sold your home, congratulations, and have follow-ups that we can move people into buckets. That's definitely something on our side that we could look into. But if you're just simply looking to turn off the automations, find the contact magnifying glass. It'll bring you to the contact card. You can then flip the automation that they're currently a part of off, and then they'll at least not get texts or emails from you any further. And then again, as we're starting to introduce automation entry points and all these different things, you'll then be able to build out a new automation and simply take that lead and add them to it, which is more congruent with where they currently sit. Because I 100% agree, and I think that's just not a good look. Right.
Thank you.
You've sold your home with me, and now I'm hitting you with these emails that are no longer timely. So definitely.
Thank you.
And Michael, on the KVCore end, all you would do is go over to your add campaign button over on the right-hand side, and it'll say the campaign that you're running. So for instance, like I run a custom buyer and a custom seller campaign. And so I would go in there and I would either pause that campaign if I was still working with them, or if I wasn't working with them anymore and they had already closed, I would delete that campaign. Then they would no longer get those campaigns from me that say, hey, are you still interested in a home value or anything like that? They're still not getting that on the automated side of KVCore. So again, you just go over to your add campaign. You're going to click on add campaign, delete or pause, either one, and then just move them in the timeline up above from active or under contract or whatever over to closed. And that'll take care of the KVCore side.
Thank you very much.
Shannon, we'd love to see some of that KVCore plan that you have.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, if you want to do a screen share, I made you co-host.
Oh, cool, thank you. Okay, so yeah, we can do that. Let me do that. Give me just a second here. Okay, so So what do you want me to go over? I'll make sure I'm going out because I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. There's so much stuff in here.
Well, I mean, I think probably what we'd love to see is most of us here are all doing StreetText seller leads.
Mm-hmm.
So let's focus on how your plan takes over from the StreetText side on the follow-up.
Okay, sure, absolutely. So now we do. This is a campaign that my team puts together, and if anybody wants to ask about that, they can ask me, offline or message me or whatever. But these are the campaigns down here. These are a bunch of campaigns in here. But here's the ones that I use. So I've got the Kingdom Group Seller Custom and the Kingdom Buyer Custom. But let's use the seller for example. So the seller, what happens is immediately whenever it comes in, there's going to be a phone call that comes directly from KVCore as soon as that lead comes in. The one thing I have noticed with, and I don't know if this is a setting that I'm missing on here on Marcus or not, but I'm not getting as many phone numbers as I'm getting email addresses. I mean, I'm getting email addresses and that's fine. I'm just not getting a ton of phone numbers, which is not giving Julie the opportunity to actually carry on much of a conversation with them. So that may be something that you and I have to talk about offline. But however, I can say this, when they come through with a phone number, it's going to call me immediately. Okay, 2 minutes later, I use just what Josh was talking about. I use the Ringless voicemail. Okay, so the Ringless voicemail service is $20 a month for 150 dials, $30 a month for 250 dials, and $500 is $50 a month. And so I just go with the basic one, right? But what I'm going to do is every time they come in, so I'm going to miss the call because 9 times out of 10, I'm in back-to-back Zoom calls all day long, right? And then 2 minutes later, it's going to send them a voice message right to their phone, directly to their phone, okay? Then it's going to pop up on there. It says that there was a voice message. Now, 4 minutes later, I send this text message right here. It says, hey, Marcus, thanks for the inquiry on our website. Just left you a voicemail. Sorry, I missed you. Anyway, our team is gathering some information to help you with your real estate needs. Would you prefer that we text you or give you a quick call to discuss it? That text actually gets a lot of response. So, and a lot of times what I'll do is, let's see, somebody's trying to get in here, so I'm having to do that. But that text, you're basically letting them know, hey, I just left you a voice message. Sorry, I missed you. You want me to text this or give you a call to discuss it? That's a really good response to start off with. Then 30 minutes later, just like Josh was talking about, in about 30 minutes, I'm going to send them a video. So I've created a video here. We're not going to watch the video, but I've created a video here, right? And it talks about, hey, welcome to our site. Thanks so much for inquiring, blah, 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 blah. Then on day one, they're going to get a welcome email, right? Not sure if you got my text, but I'm currently working as much to get the accurate value of your home, blah, 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 right? So this is for a home value. This is what we're focusing on is a home value. Now, this would not work for downsizing or for buyers or anything like that, but this is what I typically send out to them. And then it continues on, and it's actually a 365-day campaign, okay? But here's what you need to understand is, once they have responded, what Josh was talking about before, once they've actually responded back to you, okay, whether it's text or email or they've called you or whatever, it's going to move them from that new lead status into an active lead status, okay? So people say, what should I do once they go into active lead? Now, I'm a little old school, so I'm gonna do this the way that I believe honestly should be done. Okay, there's too many agents out there that want to, and Marcus, Stephen, I think you guys would, Logan, I think you all guys would agree with me on this one. There's too many agents out there that want to campaign their leads to death. Does that make sense? They literally want to campaign them to death. So they want to have a campaign that starts out. Then when they respond, they want to have another campaign that keeps going. And then they want to have another campaign that keeps going and another campaign keeps going. Here's the thing. They never get off their lazy butts and pick up the phone and call the agent. That's the challenge. I call the lead, right? That's the challenge. So here's what I do. Okay, so let me give you guys, let's go into here. We'll go into Sharon, for example. This is one of the StreetText leads that came in. She did not have a phone number. That's okay. Her email was verified, right? Now, as you can see, I've got her on this seller custom campaign. She's a new lead. Once she responds, then I'm going to move her over into, or it's going to move her over into the active status. Now, let's say she responds back and she says, Shannon, I'm interested in selling my home and I want to get the most out of it, whatever the situation may be. At that point, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click the button like Michael, I was telling you earlier. I'm going to click this button right here and I'm going to hit pause. Okay, now I could remove it if I wanted to, but I'm just going to hit pause for now. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now, but that's going to give you an idea. But if I were to hit pause, it would stop her campaign. You can see here, show future touch points, right? And the future touch points right here is basically every little thing that we're going to do coming up. Okay, this is the campaign, right? That goes all the way through day 365. So if you ever want to see that, you just hit show future touch points. So what I can do is I can pause this or I can remove it. Either one, it doesn't matter. Now, if you pause it, you can pick up where you left off. If you remove it, you have to start the campaign completely over. Okay, so let's say she responds. She says, I want to know the value of my home. Perfect. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to pause this and I'm going to go right up here. Now, if she's got a phone number, I'm going to immediately text message her or call her. Okay, I'm either going to call her or I'm going to text message her. And I'm going to say, okay, great. Please tell me a little bit about your property. I'd love to know, any upgrades, any updates, things like that you've done. Now, once she tells me what she's done to the home, then I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to, first of all, look at this Nebo. That's the area. That's the city. So I'm going to go over here to market reports and I'm going to add a market report for Nebo. I just hit add, right? And I can do, Nebo, you see there, I can do that. And then what I do is I set it for 14 days. So every 14 days, she's going to get a market report knowing what's going on in her area. It's going to tell all the different homes that are sold, what the median price is, average price, all that good stuff. All that's going to be there. Okay. Now, another thing I can do is I can go down here to listing valuation. And now here's the problem with this. Okay, let me explain this. The listing valuation goes off of tax data. Okay, so the numbers are not going to be exactly lined up where they should be for the market, just so you know. Okay, but again, all you're trying to do is get that person to raise their hand and say, hey, you know what? I want to work with you. Can you come out and take a look at the home? Rather than you having to do everything through the computer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over here and copy her address. Just going to click on it, copy it, boom. Then I'm going to go over here and add a listing valuation. Means I'm going to put her address in here, and then I'm going to update this and send. So it's going to send her a listing valuation every 30 days on her property. It's not the most accurate valuation. That's okay. Even if it's not accurate, I still want her to respond back and go, that number seems a little off. And I can say, you know what? Yes, I understand. That's what our system automatically pulls from the tax data. I would love it if you could tell me more about your property, right? Tell me some upgrades that you've done. Please help me understand some different things that you've done on your end, right? And so I find out more about the property, and then I go over to Core Present. Does anyone here use Core Present? Does anyone know anything about Core Present? Core Present is a great tool inside KVCore. So you can, I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, I just said I use it.
Yeah, it's a great tool. It really is a great tool. So what you can do is you can go in here to Core Present and you can go add, right? Now I've already done one for her, so let me go to someone else so I can show you how this would work. Give me just a minute here. Let's see here. Let's go to Rhonda, for example. Okay. So Rhonda, here's her address, right? Now, as you can see, I've got her on the seller custom campaign. She's not responding. She's not opened anything. As you can see, she's not opened any of the emails, but we did run a validation and it is correct. Okay. So what I need to do for Rhonda, very first thing, like what we were talking about before, is I'm going to go ahead and add a market report here. Okay. And she's in Morganton. So I'm going to put in Morganton, let it auto populate. And I'm going to go every 14 days and add. Okay. So now she's got a market report that's going to be coming to her. Why did it not take? Let me refresh. It should have taken. Sorry about that. But what's going to happen is now she's going to have a market report coming to her every 14 days to update her on that particular neighborhood or that particular area that she's in, right? If she's in Morganton or whatever, right? It's gonna automatically send out that market report. And what in the world is going on here? This is crazy. There we go. Okay. So as you can see here, Well, it still didn't do it. I don't know why that is. That's bizarre. So Morganton is supposed to do this. Okay, and it has to auto-populate. So you can wait for it to auto-populate, which I did. There we go. Now, every 14 days, I don't like to do 7 days, but every 14 days now, add. And for some reason, it's not wanting to work for me today. But anyway, you would put that in there, and then it would update every 14 days. It would send her that. Now, I could go in and put the listing valuation in. That's the tax data. And that's kind of where I start. But once she responds back to me and says, hey, I'm interested in finding out more about my home, and here's some more information, right? Maybe she sends back and she says, you know, that information's not correct. That's too high. That's too low. That's whatever. Then I can go into Core Present and click Add. And Core Present is kind of like, has anyone ever here used Cloud CMA, Toolkit CMA, Dash CMA, any of those, right? So this is like a version of that. However, this one's got enough data. So I'd have to find a property that has enough data. But what it'll do is it'll actually pull in the comps. So we got to find a better comp here. Give me just a minute, or better lead. I think, let's see, hold on.
Yeah, and as you're doing that, I know I was speaking to Jennifer Salter earlier this week, and she loves the Core Presents product. Like
it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I know. So your thing is, what you're going to be speaking to a lot of people too right now as you're talking is HomeBot. HomeBot is a big thing right now, right? Especially the integration with StreetText, and if you find a lender, you get to open up the video integration inside of there as well. So I would wonder how HomeBot and this would complement one another. Would they conflict? Would it be using one or the other? I'm wondering if anybody on here is answering that.
I can't answer that because I'm not using HomeBot at the time. But anyone wants to chime in and say something, maybe if they're using both of them, I would recommend having one or the other. I think if you have too much, you can bombard people too much. Just my personal opinion.
Yes.
But Core Present, let's try Core Present one more time. Let's see if this will work for this property. I live in a very rural area where there's not very many people at all. So, okay, there we go. So we got two sold, and we literally have, in my entire county, we have 41 homes on the market right now. 41 guys. Okay. So anyway, as you can see here, there's 2 homes that have sold. I can go in here and change the time frame or whatever I want to change. I can do all that. I can change the bed count, square footage, but it does it automatically. I can do manual if I wanted to, but for now, I'm just going to hit skip to presentation. Okay. And this is really cool, guys. I love this feature. Is it automatically comes up with a presentation. If you don't have a listing presentation, boom, here's a listing presentation, right? Why I'm the right fit, what's your home worth, market analysis, so on and so forth, right? So it's a basic listing presentation, but it's there. You can change the theme, you can change the company default, you can do whatever you want to do there. But right here, if somebody just wants a quick value, I don't want to send them a full CMA. I don't want to send them a full, why I'm the best agent for them, because I'm going to sit down and do the listing presentation in person. I'm not going to do it over an email. Okay. So I'm going to click on mode. I'm going to go over here to single page review. Now, what I like about single page review is it gives them down here the price per square footage, but it doesn't exactly give them a number. You guys see that, right? It gives them a price per square footage, percentage of price, right? But it also, if they want to click on this, it'll open up and it'll show them the comps that are comparable to their house, right? So here we go. This is what their comparables look like. And so I can literally just hit present and share. Once I do, now I can add a net sheet in. I could add a video in. So if I have the BombBomb integration inside KVCore, I can add a video here. Hey, Natasha, it was great to talk with you. By the way, here's a quick rundown of what your property could sell for in today's market. Keep in mind, this is sight unseen. I've never seen your home. I've never laid eyes on it yet. So when we get an opportunity, it would be best for me to come out, take a look at the home. Then I can give you a better valuation of what it would sell for, right? So I always recommend sending a video or a text that says something like that. Right? You can email the presentation directly from here. You can download it and print it and mail it out if you want to. What I like to do is I just copy this just copy right here, right? So I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go right back over to my KVCore. And I'm going to go right up here to email. Now, I've saved it as a template called home value. Okay. You can do whatever you want to do, but I've got a home value template already made up, right? See, it's already ready to go. And I hit on this click here. I just go right here to the little link part, right? I'm going to paste that link in right there. And I'm going to open this in a new window, right? And hit save. And boom, that's ready to go. Now I can email that out to her, and that gives her that valuation right away. You can also text it. You can do whatever you want to in that regard. The last thing I want to talk about on the profile page, as far as a seller goes, once you get a seller's home, right? Okay, once you get their home under contract, you can go in here and hit add and add the MLS ID and hit add on that. And what's going to happen is KVCore is actually going to go through and view how many times people have looked at their property, if they've saved them as favorites, what they've done to, how many showings there are, all kinds of different stuff. It gives them all kinds of metrics as to what's going on KVCore on your website and people looking at their listing. And it's going to periodically send those reports out for you. Okay, so it's going to do that part for you. So there's a lot of automation inside KVCore. If obviously, if you guys are interested in my custom campaigns and stuff, maybe we can put my, I don't know, my web address or my email or something like that in the chat. I don't know, Marcus. Wasn't here to sell anything to anybody today, but if they want, if they want to learn, find out more information, I'll be more than happy.
Absolutely, yeah. Put your contact info in there, Shannon, or email. I know a lot of people have been asking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do a lot of training on KVCore. I've broken it down just so you guys know. If you don't mind, Marcus, I'm going to tell them this part. There's thousands of videos out there for KVCore, and it confuses the living hell out of everybody, to be perfectly honest with you. Okay. So what I've done is I've basically broke it down and I said, here's a section of KVCore, and I do a 10-minute segment on that. And then I'll say, here's a section of KVCore for the dashboard, and I do a 10-minute section on that. I do a 10-minute section on the smart CRMs, all this different stuff. So I break it down to where you understand it. And then of course, we do the custom campaigns, we do an email signature, all kinds of stuff in there. So I'll go ahead and put in my, my name, my email address. And if it's okay, I'll put in the link to my KVCore Bootcamp if anybody's interested in that. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
This is called KVCoreBootcamp.com. And guys, I give it away. I literally give it away. It's $97 for my team to go in and set everything up for you, get all your triggers, all your alerts, the whole 9 yards. We do it all. You get the training, all that for $97. You can't beat the price.
That's a good deal. That's a good deal. Is there any questions for Shannon or I know we're coming up in the last 5 minutes here, and it's been such an amazing mastermind and discussion, What is it? Is there anything you have for Shannon or just in general, guys, just to wrap this all up? I know Steve is going to be taking this and working on that direct integration for you. So that's going to be cool. But anything that's top of mind right now as you've digested all this great material? Yeah, Kimberly says 97 for training and setup, no brainer.
Here's the thing. It was originally $347 and I dropped the price during COVID. And I've never raised it again, because what I learned was this: everybody can afford $97. I mean, literally a brand new agent or an experienced agent, either one, it's not going to break them, right?
That's cool. That's exciting. Yes. Do it. Any questions for Shannon? Just questions in general. Rebecca says she loves the integrations and super excited.
Yes. Looking forward to that.
Hey, Shannon.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. How are you, and this is something that I've been kind of complaining about for the longest, and they're saying that they're going to update it. How are you checking your open rates? Are you like, when the lead comes in, are you just checking it right then and there? Are you having someone check it? How are you keeping up with that?
Yeah, that's something. So Nick Macy, who's the president of KVCore and Inside Real Estate, is a good friend of mine. We talk a couple of times a month. And we've had this conversation before. And so this is something that they're working on to where they're going to actually give you better statistics, right? They've got the business analytics back there, but they're going to give you better statistics on your open rate, because right now you do have to check those manually one by one, or have your assistant do it. But that is something that's coming, and there's some really, really cool stuff that's coming to KVCore, guys, that people don't know about in Q3. So be looking out for that. I'm under an NDA. I can't say what's coming, but we got some really, really cool stuff coming.
Awesome.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Yeah, Wendy, and thanks for sharing too. I loved your Julie
Yes.
text messaging kind of exchange idea. I think that's going to be cool. Give us feedback as you're utilizing that. Josh Schoenly obviously has some great feedback. We'll get him back to do some more presentation as well. You and Shannon, right? Shannon, you and Josh need to lock up a little bit more.
Yeah, we need to talk more. Me and him used to talk all the time, and he got busy and I got busy, and we kind of lost communication. But yeah, me and him need to come together, and we both are very good friends with Ryan, obviously, who Ryan is with, Inside Real Estate or KVCore, right? And so there's a lot that we can get done, especially with my contact with with Nick Macy. He's the president, and literally they actually listen to us. They listen to me and listen to Josh, which is really cool. So we can get a lot of things done. So if you guys have anything, I put my email address in there. If you guys have any requests that you want specifically done for KVCore, I can take it straight up the chain to the president and bypass support for you.
Wow. I love that. And then if you have any of those ideas, and we're going to count on you, Shannon, and Josh to be our generals as we work on this integration. But if anybody has ideas that they want, integration ideas, send those to Steven at StreetText.com. Obviously, send them to Shannon too, because Shannon can kind of rise to the top there for us. And thank you guys. Yeah, is there any last minute things that you wanted to add? Anything, Shannon, or anybody else before we let you go, get to lunch? Or your afternoon coffee out there for 3 p.m.
Yeah, it's 3 p.m. here. Yeah, I've got a meeting with an agent, so I gotta jump off here. But
we thank you for giving your time, Shannon. Really appreciate it. And thanks again, everybody, for coming. Let us know if you like this. Give us some feedback. Give us some feedback in the insider group. If you want to see more of this, let us know. I really appreciate it. And have an awesome day. Thanks again, Shannon.
Thanks, guys. Take care.